Jerome Mayhew.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm very grateful to the Honourable Member for Waveney for calling this debate. So we're talking about levelling up. We've got limited time, so inevitably all the highfalutin arguments that I was going to express are being ditched in favour of the shopping list, and I just apologise in advance for that. So what are we talking about levelling up? I think it's about investment, and if we're putting a nail on it, it's about increasing productivity for the future. So we get the growth in the east of England that then pays for all the good stuff that everyone in this chamber wants for our residents. If we want to increase productivity in the east, the key element is connectivity in all its forms. Because I think levelling up is not really about north versus south, as it's often portrayed, but a proper analysis of it is really it's about urban versus rural. Because we are underserved in rural areas, both physically and digitally, for the connectivity which is increasingly important in the developing economy. Starting first with mobile phone coverage. 82% of calls in Norfolk by mobile phone connected. That means that 18% in a relatively recent service failed. That's incredibly annoying. It makes it much harder to undertake business as well as everyday life. So I very much welcome the Shared Rural Networks project. But the 95% of coverage which is promised by, I think, about 2030 is only for coverage outside of buildings. So that's fine if you're in the garden, but in rural areas where we have quite substantial buildings, typically with stone or brick construction, then connectivity inside buildings is much less than that. I'd invite the government to look at that. Superfast broadband, it's a huge opportunity for particularly rural growth. And if you ask businesses what is the single biggest thing that you can do as a government to improve their economic prospects, 80% of rural businesses tell us that superfast broadband is that item. So let's focus on it. So first thing, mobile phone coverage. Second one, superfast broadband. So I welcome Project Gigabit. I celebrate the recent milestone of getting 50% coverage in the UK, but we need to go further, particularly in the east. But not all connectivity is digital. We need access, physical access to markets. And I do disagree with the Honourable Member for Norwich South in relation to the Western Link Road. We've created essentially an orbital route around Norwich, but rather like the M25, we've decided not to build the bridge over the Thames. And it is very damaging to the connectivity, particularly to the northeast of the county, getting access to the physical markets of the rest of the country. I will give way.
Thank you for giving my point. You talked about a bridge over the Thames, but what this is a massive bulldozer road through an ecologically sensitive area. There were options to go over the most ecologically sensitive parts, but they were a bit more expensive and they were rejected. And I think that's a point that needs to be made.
Well, I'm grateful for the intervention. It is also a bridge over the River Wensum, as my honourable friend knows, and that a survey was undertaken and a consultation undertaken, and the best route, taking into account that consultation, was reached on. Because it does deal with a huge amount of running and links North Norfolk to the rest of the country. The A47. I welcome the imminent work for the Tubman to Easton dualling. But what about the Achill Strait? What about linking Great Yarmouth to the rest of the country? This is overdue, much needed. Rail. Regularity of services. Norwich to London takes about 2 hours. London to Birmingham, which is a shorter distance, is about 80 minutes. That has a huge impact on the economic potential of our part of the country. And the same for the Ely Junction, the Hawley Narrows. But we need access to markets, and that means access to staff. We lose 50% of our graduates from Norfolk. We need to change that. And one of the things we've got to look at is the quality of life in our community. Health, dental services. We have a real paucity of dental services in this county, and we would assist that if we had a teaching facility at the UEA. And I've run out of time, so I'm going to have to sit down at that stage.